Ducks Unlimited. I mean, we're a big organization. We're the largest wetlands conservation organization in the world. Over 800 employees nationwide, 200 of those who work out of headquarters here. But
welcome to the Talk Chamber, a production of the Greater Memphis Chamber. The Talk Chamber is a podcast for the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. This mic is powered by OrthoSouth, world-class orthopedic care across the Mid-South. Today's episode features David Schuessler, the Chief Event Fundraising Officer at Ducks Unlimited. David, thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm excited to talk about Ducks Unlimited, about you, and just the work you guys do. So to kick us off, tell us a bit about yourself and your role at Ducks Unlimited.
Well, as you mentioned, I'm the Chief Fundraising Officer at Ducks Unlimited, so I get to work with our 33,000 volunteers. Our event fundraising staff is about 175 people, and we hold 6,000 events around the country every year. I've been with the organization 27 years, 18 of those right here at our headquarters in Memphis, Tennessee. So I'm closing in on Memphis being the city that I've lived the longest in. So I'm about to switch from my hometown to Tallahassee, Florida, to Memphis being really where I'm from.
So when you came to Memphis, was it for Ducks Unlimited?
It was, yes. It was for Ducks Unlimited 18 years ago. I moved here from Austin, Texas.
Wow. Okay, so you were from Tallahassee.
Went to work for Ducks Unlimited in North Carolina.
Okay.
And so I have spent time in Raleigh, North Carolina with DU, Austin, Texas, and then Memphis, Tennessee.
Awesome. So switching topics, tell us about Ducks Unlimited. What do you guys do? What's the mission there?
So Ducks Unlimited is an 89-year-old conservation nonprofit. We're the world's largest wetlands and waterfowl conservation group. We have raised countless billions of dollars in the past 89 years and put over 20 million acres of wetlands conservation on the ground throughout North America for the benefit of waterfowl and those who love waterfowl. And we're headquartered right here in Memphis.
And that's awesome. I think I got a question about that coming up here in just a minute. But why was Ducks Unlimited created? What was kind of the idea, the thinking, the problem that the founders saw?
So in 1937, there was a group of businessmen out of New York City who were avid duck hunters, avid waterfowl hunters, duck and geese. And they would travel every year on the train down to Knott's Island, North Carolina, where they owned a lot of property. And they were noticing every year that there were fewer and fewer and fewer ducks and geese that were migrating south. And the leader of this group was a gentleman by the name of Joseph Knapp. And one night at their hunting club, they started having this conversation about we have to do something about these declining numbers of ducks and geese. So given that it was the 1930s and they couldn't just make a phone call or get online and figure out what was going on, they sent some people up to the breeding grounds. Most ducks breed in the north-central U.S. and the prairies of Canada, and they found that the Dust Bowl was ravaging that part of the continent just like it was so many parts of the U.S., and they decided to do something about it. So they formed a group called More Game Birds for America and literally started taking their own money and doing project work up in Canada. And eventually, in a year or two, they formed Ducks Unlimited, and it was formed in New York City. And away the organization went in raising money to do conservation work for waterfowl. But an important part of that story is back in the 1930s, it was very popular to put limited on the end of any corporation. And they didn't want to call it Ducks Limited because what they truly wanted was Ducks Unlimited. So anytime that you see a company, Paper Clips Unlimited or Rugs Unlimited or whatever it may be, it was Ducks Unlimited that first used that unlimited inside of our name. So we're kind of the founder of the unlimited part of business names.
I love that. That's hilarious. That's a really great fun fact. I would have never.
Oh, I've got some great ones for you today.
Never thought that. So I don't know. How did y'all end up from New York City to Memphis, Tennessee? It's not like we're neighbors.
Right. So, we went New York to Chicago to Memphis. In the mid-1960s, and about 1965, they moved the offices of Ducks Unlimited from Manhattan to the Chicago area. They were in Des Plaines till about 1980, and then they moved to an area, Chicago, called Long Grove. And this was a significant growth time for the organization. We were seeing more and more field staff that were doing fundraising for the organization, and they outgrew their space. And the city of Long Grove would not give them permits to expand the building that they were in. So they said, okay, not only can we not expand our building, but these winters up here are terrible. We're trying to hold meetings with our volunteers, our board, and meetings with our staff, and so many of them are getting canceled because people can't get into O'Hare. So they said, let's look at a more temperate climate to move it to. Well, it just so happens that two recent past presidents of the organization, which is a volunteer position, the top volunteer position within the organization, were heavily involved in two beer companies. One was Pete Coors, and you know, Pete Coors, who's the kind of the godfather of Coors Brewing. Another was a gentleman by the name of Harry Knight, who was an executive with Budweiser. And Pete and Harry got along fine, even though they were super competitive in the business world against each other. And Harry wanted Ducks Unlimited in Williamsburg, Virginia. A lot of people might not know, but Budweiser owns a lot of property in Williamsburg. They have some corporate offices there. And Harry wanted DU on Budweiser ground. Well, Pete, being the president, CEO, whatever he might have been at the time, of course, said, no, I want them in Golden, Colorado. So we have these beer wars. We have these two huge beer companies that are fighting over DU where they're going to move. And there were two gentlemen here in Memphis, the late Billy Donovan and Chuck Smith. And Chuck is, just a few weeks ago, Chuck finished his term as our chairman of the board. Chuck served as president and then chairman of the board for us. And the two of them said, we need them in Memphis. Like Memphis is, there's no city in the country, and I happen to agree with this, there's no city where that waterfowl hunting ethic is as much a part of the business community as it is Memphis. And this part of the world happens to be a very important part of the world for ducks and geese. So they put all their friends together and said, we're going to go to battle with the beer companies.
Oh, no.
And did a fantastic job in raising funds that went into an endowment for us to move here, as well as raise the money to build our building that's out at the Agri Center. So Billy and Chuck won. They beat Budweiser. They beat Coors. And in 1992, thankfully, in 1992, we moved to Memphis, Tennessee, because I would much rather live in Memphis than Golden, Colorado, or Williamsburg, Virginia. Nothing against those two places, but Memphis is my home, and I love it here. So.
There is no place like Memphis.
That's right.
And it shows.
That's right.
That's why people want to be here. So y'all have been around for almost 90 years. Mm-hmm. You said 92 was when y'all started being headquartered here? 92
is when they made the move to Memphis. I was not working for them then. I was still having fun in school then. But I believe they worked out of the Agri Center for a year or two while the office was being built, and then formally moved into the office.
It's a beautiful space. We've hosted our Young Professionals Council speed networking event that we do with our chairman's circle, and that's always a big hit, and it's just a great space.
I think, it is in Memphis. Of course, it's right on the edge. And I'm not sure how many Memphians understand that Ducks Unlimited. I mean, we're a big organization. We're the largest wetlands conservation organization in the world. Over 800 employees nationwide, 200 of those who work out of headquarters here. But not a lot of people know that we occupy that space. They're very familiar with what Johnny Morris did for us in allowing us to put the Waterfowl Heritage Museum in the pyramid. But for those who are interested, we do offer tours of that building out there. So if anybody's interested, it's One Waterfowl Way. It's on the Agri Center campus, and it is a beautiful spot. And thanks to, again, to Billy and Chuck and all of their friends that moved us here, it's something great to go and experience. There's a lot of history in that building, and we do a better and better job now of recording our history there. So for those that haven't done it, go take a tour. You can just walk in, request a tour, and we have people whose jobs aren't to be tour guides, but they're trained to do so, who can come and walk people around and show them the office.
That's so fun. I remember just a memory I had, because I didn't know for the longest time, I grew up here, didn't know that there was something back in that little space. I didn't know, but I saw the duck flag.
Right.
And as a kid, had no idea what it meant, but I was like, there's the duck flag. I know where I am. There's the duck flag.
That's
I'm halfway
right.
to my
That's us.
destination.
That's us.
But now, having been there and enjoyed the space through the chamber and just other activities, it's just a great space. And we're glad that y'all are here.
We're thrilled to be here. We have a average size conference center there that many of the groups here in town have used. In fact, when I drove into the office this morning, one of the news stations was one of the reporters. They had a camera out and they were doing a piece, and I thought, well, we've loaned the conference center out again for somebody to have a meeting, and it must be an important one, because one of the news station is here. They were there to cover it. So we're thrilled to be here. Memphis is our home, and we're just proud to be a part of a city that has so much soul. I believe that when people that I went to school with or I grew up with asked me what Memphis is like, I said, Memphis is a city that has a lot of soul. And I think that's bled over into Ducks Unlimited and really our corporate philosophy. We're a very down-to-earth organization. I think Memphis is a down-to-earth city. And I think it's helped, being headquarters in Memphis has helped us grow the way we have, which is right now at a record-breaking pace as we do conservation all over North America.
That's awesome. And that kind of brings me to another question. Why do you think y'all stay in Memphis? What keeps it here?
Location-wise, it's not exactly the center of the country, but for us, if you look at how we're distributed in our chapters as well as in our staff, it is. There's two major highways that converge right here. And then for what Ducks Unlimited is, in the conservation of North America's waterfowl, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, this is a historic part of the world as far as duck hunting goes. If you cross the river into Arkansas, especially over in the Grand Prairie, as you cross over the ridge, there are people from all over the world that travel to hunt in that part of the world. If you go down into the Mississippi Delta, it has its own heritage as well as West Tennessee. And so location-wise, it really made sense. I think it makes as much sense today as it did back in 92. It was a little rough on those of us that do a lot of air travel when Northwest was swallowed up, but the air travel is still good out of here. It's it's not necessarily a hub, but it's a great secondary market. So it just makes sense for us to be here, and it'll be 35 years next year that we've been here. So after 35 years, I don't think anybody thinks about how we used to be in Chicago. It's just Memphis is where we are.
Yeah. So coming up on 90 years, do y'all have anything planned that you can share that y'all are going to do to celebrate 90 years of waterfowl conservation? That's a big deal.
We're going to celebrate it. We'll have some special merchandise, and I'm sure we'll be doing some special things. But right now, we are ending within the next month, as our fiscal year ends. We are going to end the end of our Conservation for a Continent campaign, which we already know will be the largest conservation campaign ever inside of this country. We had a $3 billion goal on this campaign, and at our national convention a couple of weeks ago, as we could forecast through the end of the fiscal, we're going to end up raising over $4 billion in that campaign. So we're going to take maybe 6 months to catch our breath. But then inside of the 90th year, as I mentioned, we'll have a lot of special merchandise inside of our events. Our magazine will certainly have numerous features about what we've accomplished in those 90 years. I'm sure that eventually, once we catch our breath from finishing this campaign, that we'll have some things planned locally, some special events, and I've gone through a lot of anniversaries. The 75th was a big one. The 80th landed, and it kind of didn't seem so big after the 75th was so big. But I feel like the 90th, as we start to look forward to it, there's a lot of folks that are putting a big emphasis on it. So it'll be a good year for us, and a year to a year to be proud of. In 90 years, DU has never been on the front page of the New York Times or Newsweek or anything like that for something bad, and that's due to the relationship between the volunteers and the staff in this organization. And we are a volunteer-run organization. Our board is entirely made up of volunteers, and that structure goes all the way down through our state chapters, down to our local chapters, which we have 2,600 local chapters around the country. And so for me, at least, there's the conservation aspect of 20 million acres. But at the same time, the fact that we have operated in a scandal-free world for 9 decades is something I'm most proud of as a staff, as a donor to the organization, and still somebody who volunteers for some of our fundraising. That's 90 years of no problems, and that's pretty cool.
90 years of good work, and just good work.
Yep.
Y'all are dedicated people, and 90 years, that's a long time.
It is a long time.
That takes some dedication, hard work, and passionate, enthusiastic people.
Absolutely.
And I don't think you can accomplish that if you don't have those people to do that.
The great thing about DU is whether it's somebody from Memphis, Tennessee, Seattle, Washington, Miami, Florida. I mean, we have volunteers all over this country. We have staff that operate in all 50 states. There's such this singleness of purpose of what we do. To watch people get together at our board meetings or our national convention or that thing we do in Memphis at the end of each summer that I know we'll talk
there.
about. To have all of those people from those different backgrounds who will all cheer against each other during college football season or during the NFL season, but to get together and see everybody form this real tight coalition to move the organization in one direction, it's really special.
It's amazing what happens when people are united and can work towards a common goal.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to, stick on this too long, because there's something else that's, I would say, a little bit big going on. Very big, actually. Y'all have DUX, the Ducks Unlimited Expo. What is that all about?
Well, DU's a lot about being the largest and the biggest. DUX, which is our annual expo, is the largest waterfowl-centered expo in the world. And it happens right here in Memphis, Tennessee at the Renasant Convention Center. It is, we used to have, and some of your listeners may remember, an expo that we had 20, 30 years ago called the Great Outdoors Festival. And it was held out at the Agri Center. We had one here. We would do them in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and we did a couple in Virginia. I remember those being hit by hurricanes and tornadoes. We didn't stay in Virginia very long. But the Great Outdoors Festival was one of the big happenings in Memphis every year. When 2008 came and everybody had to recalibrate, we kind of put those on the shelf for a while. And about 3 years before the pandemic, we decided that we're going to bring this thing back. And the first place we did it was in Texas. We went to the Dallas-Fort Worth market, and for 3 years, we had to cancel the first one in 2020 because of COVID.
Of course.
But in 21, 22, and 23, we held the DUX at the Texas Motor Speedway. Still had that outdoor feel to it, and they were successful. We had a lot of participation out there, but as our 3-year contract came to a close out there, we started thinking about it and where do we want this to go? And we met with some of our large sponsors. We talked internally about it, and one day happened to walk inside of the Renasant Convention Center, and we just had this epiphany of, wait a minute, this is right where we need to be right here. So we took a year off to do this little project, which was a invitation-only private Garth Brooks concert in Las Vegas.
Wow.
I'd rather do DUX. Nothing against Garth, but DU is not. We learned that we do really well holding our own events and not concerts. It was sold out. It was great, but concerts are very hard to hold.
Oh yeah,
They are very hard to hold. And then last year in 2025, we had our first DUX in Memphis, and it was a massive success. Blew away all of our expectations. We brought over 20,000 people into downtown Memphis, and that's not including the vendors and exhibitors that were at the show. These are turnstiles, people coming into downtown to come to this show. The staff at the RCC told us that was the biggest that they had ever had, so I guess we broke the record in the first year. And inside of the industry, inside of that outdoors industry, we hit a niche for a late summer expo in this part of the world that is it has become much of what many of us are on an annual basis just from a work and planning perspective. But I think what's really cool about it is that it took DU out of the Agri-Center, and being there, and it gave us a footprint in downtown Memphis. And it's growing, it's expanding. We want bigger, we want better, although this year we will max out the space inside of the RCC. We've added another floor to it. But we are proud of the economic impact that it's brought to downtown. We took a break last year from the show, and you'd go and get a sandwich somewhere, and you'd have your little badge on, and to have restaurant owners say, "You've made our summer." Bringing all these people downtown, you've made our summer, and knowing the impact we've had on hotels downtown, as well as giving the RCC this kind of cornerstone event for late summer. It's been really cool. It's very exciting.
So let's talk about that economic and community impact a little bit more. What kind of impact do you see and have you heard about from this event?
We're still trying to gather up the actual financial dollars.
Yeah.
And alongside the Convention and Visitors Bureau, trying to figure it out. I think after we get through year 2, we're going to be able to say, okay, this is a $5 million, $6 million, whatever it may be, impact on downtown. Just from the people that we bring in, because we hold conferences in conjunction with this. Mm-hmm. We brought people from every single state in the country. I think 3 provinces in Canada, Australia, Italy maybe. We brought all those people to Memphis in August. Now, look, we all love Memphis.
Memphis
in August is pretty. There's a reason they do Memphis in May and not Memphis in August. So the fact that we were able to do this, and the RCC has phenomenal air conditioning, but the fact that we were able to bring all these people in to stay in hotel rooms and to eat in restaurants, and some of our big exhibitors, use the VRBO model because they're here for a week or two. The impact we feel is pretty significant to downtown and Memphis as a whole, and we're really proud of it.
Well, 20,000 people in downtown is for one event.
Yeah, and it'll be more this year. We already know that it will be more this year just based on our opening up the first floor and creating even more space, and our waiting list is still 100 people long. So, like, if anybody from the RCC is listening, we love you. When y'all are ready to blow out that wall,
We're ready to.
And put another exhibit hall in there, we're ready because we have people to fill it up.
That's awesome. And downtown is such a vital part of our city. And as somebody who works downtown, I love to see downtown busy. Do I like traffic? Not really. But it does make me happy when I'm like, oh man, I'm stuck in traffic because there's some really cool thing going on.
So we'll handle one weekend of the year for that.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So what can people expect out of this?
If you are a duck hunter, waterfowl hunter, or a hunter in general, like this is Christmas Day, if you love the outdoors, there's still plenty to see, from boats and ATVs, and our presenting sponsor is Purina Pro Plan. So even if you're a dog lover, the things that Purina does there, the experts they bring in, the seminars that they put on are worth the low ticket price of $15 to come in just for that. Free parking at the convention center, first come, first serve. But anything, so if it's outdoors related, if you're somebody who loves the outdoors, there is something inside of the convention center that weekend that you will love to see. If you are a hunter, and especially a waterfowl hunter, it is the largest gathering of those companies that cater to that part of our society. It's the largest gathering in the entire country. So if our hopes are if somebody lives within 5 hours, they're driving, because you're not going to see these people all together anywhere else. And so many today, at least in the outdoors space, so much of the new companies are B2C. There's no store to go see them. I mean, I guess you could drive to St. Louis to go to Dive Bomb, but Dive Bomb is going to come to Memphis to come to you.
Yeah.
So it's special. It's really special.
Now, for you, what is your favorite part of the expo?
I think my favorite part of the expo is I get to talk to all of these companies and partners. I get to have them in one space for 3 days, and to be able to walk around, and there's an outfitter out of Argentina called David Denny's. Mm-hmm. And we started doing work with Denny's about 15 years ago. In the first meeting that I ever had, they came to America, and this was a partnership where many of their trips were used at our events. And a gentleman by the name of Santiago Sieber, I met him at that first meeting. We had talked on the phone for 17 years.
Wow.
But he was at DUX last year, and like he and I were in tears. I mean, it had been 18 years of like building this partnership, and I get to see him again, and we sat down, and I'm not going to lie, we might have poured a drink.
Of course, naturally.
But to sit down and just have 15 minutes together. So for me, it's to get to see all of those relationships that are in there. Additionally, there was a sense of pride, being that I've lived in Memphis for 18 years, and I have made friends, through parents where my children went to school, and then just other friends that I've made, for them to come to the show and walk around and then come up to me and go, "This is incredible." Like, that was a sense of pride for me to have my friends tell me that, not my coworkers or something like that.
Right.
So that's probably to see the look on people's faces when they come in. That's the biggest part of the show for me.
So before we close out, when is it? Where is it? How can people get involved?
July 31st through August 2nd at the Renasant Convention Center. It's $15 a day to come, one of the lowest ticket prices for any outdoor expo across the country. You can buy your tickets online or see everybody who's going to be there online at duckexpo.com. And as I mentioned, it's free parking on a first-come, first-served basis inside of the convention center parking. Saturday afternoon's going to be special. One of our new things this year is that through our Country Conserves initiative, which is our country music project over in Nashville, we have 4 very talented and very successful singer-songwriters that are coming to play inside of Ducks Unlimited space, which is called the Duck Den, starting at around 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon. That'll be standing room only, no additional charge, and we're going to make sure that the RCC has plenty of beer carts nearby where your $15 ticket to get into the expo also will get you a kind of a mini concert with some talented artists. We'll be announcing that as the show comes closer. We've got some people jockeying to be there and be part of it. So I can't share any names right now, but it's going to be very special.
Look, David, this is all exciting stuff, and I am so excited to see this come to fruition for a second year and just to see what the future brings. So thank you so much for sharing and talking about Ducks Unlimited with me.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to do so. This has been great.
Of course, thanks.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Talk Chamber. We are so glad you're here. Today, David shared with us about Ducks Unlimited and their history here in Memphis. He also shared with us about the Ducks Unlimited Expo, July 31st through August 2nd. If you enjoyed this episode or learned a valuable piece of information, share this episode with a friend, or maybe even a colleague. Subscribe to the Talk Chamber to keep up with the latest on the Chamber, economic development, and all things Memphis. Follow us on social media at Memphis Chamber, and we'll see you next time.